Hello, this is Jordan Patrick James here again on my morning reading and going to discuss what I'm reading. Today again, we are reading Anatomy of a Breakthrough by Adam Alter. Again, huge fan, great books. Um, this comes from the first chapter of it. Bruce Feller describes himself as a life historian, a collector of personal life stories the way a historian collects historical artifacts. For decades, Feller's life was ascending. He became an immensely successful writer and TV personality. He worked in a circus and traveled with Garth Brooks, and got married and fathered identical twin girls. Then he seemed to hit a string of roadblocks. He was diagnosed with a rare form of bone cancer that required 16 rounds of chemo, invasive surgeries, and several years of recovery. Pummeled by the Great Recession, he almost went bankrupt, and his father attempted suicide several times. People seek comfort in different ways, but Failer's comfort came from the conversations with friends and strangers. His mantra became, when in turmoil, turn to narrative. I felt stuck, and so I went out looking for stories, Failer told me. As soon as he was healthy enough to travel, he spent 3 years trapezing across all 50 states while collecting 225 life stories. These stories formed the basis for Failer's best-selling book, Life is in the Transitions. Each life story was unique, but with each large enough sample, Feller began to see consistencies amid the noise. During these conversations all day, every day, it became clear that there was a pattern, he said. Far from being unusual, Feller's setbacks were mirrored in the stories he had heard around the country. He discovered that every life story was dotted with small and large life disruptions. There was no exceptions. Young, old, rich, poor, professional, laborer, urban, rural. Disruptions were universal. Most of these setbacks were unchosen, like losing a job or battling an illness, and most were unwanted. Some were minor. These happened every 12 to 18 months for most people, but roughly every 10th disruption was a major life event. He struggled to find a neutral term that captured these disruptions and all their diversity, but ultimately he settled on the term Life-Quake. I really like that term. People felt liberated by being able to put a term to it. This is when you don't know what is bothering you. You don't know what an illness is. You don't know a thing that's afflicting you that can multiply it, right? So I know that, once I was able to put it in those terms of a life quake, I can look back on my life and start seeing those patterns. Um, you know, a lot of these people that have these life quakes, they have it thrust upon them. Some of us, I know in my case, my major life quakes were of my own making. I was in a relationship that wasn't going great. A lot of it was my fault as well. I'll probably get into that to a later one, but I just it disrupted me to the point where I had to take stock of my life and stop um, just ignoring it or, blaming everything else except what was going on. The quaking, the shaking of my life, I guess, really unearthed a lot of things about me. So, it's a weird thing how these things can happen. And for me, this life quake was necessary. I'll say even I had two. I had one that happened. It was the relationship, went south, really put me down. And then a hurricane that happened like maybe a month after when I was kind of starting to get on the mend from it, started to rebound. I made a major hurricane come and hit the same area, and then I kept trying to stay in this area, and finally I decided that I needed to leave. That's what this life quake was happening for, was so I could finally leave the place I needed to be, pack my bag, and go about backpacking, to finally get to a point where, um, I'm living this completely different life. And if it hadn't been for a life quake, I would, be living the same unhappy life again. So I hope a life quake comes your way. It's gonna happen, but I hope you're able to find the way forward from that life quake. whether it's getting back on your feet or finding a whole new life that is better than the one that you had previously. It's just sometimes enduring that life quake. All right, see you tomorrow.